Harihi Om. Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanarthayam Vandhe Vedanta Desikham Lakshmi Nada Samarambham Jnana Yamuna Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Paryantham Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Ramaya Rama Bhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sithayam Pathaye Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Narayanarpanamastu. Namo Namaha. Suswagatam. Welcome to the fourth day of the Brahmotsavam and to the third day of the Ramayana Upanyasam. So we started on Sunday by looking at the introduction to Ramayana, or the events that led to the writing of the Ramayana by Sri Valmiki Maharishi. And we also ventured into the Balakandam, which is the first kantha, or the first canto of Srimad Ramayana, written by Valmiki. And yesterday, we traveled with Rama, Lakshmana and Sita into the forests, having traversed through several rivers, having met Bharatha, having given his Paduka to Bharatha. Now, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita are left in the Chitrakoot forest. Today we move on to the third kandam, the third canto, which is the Aranya Kandam. Aranya in Sanskrit means forest. Like I said yesterday, if you look at the Vedas are divided into four parts. Right? I'm not talking about the four different Vedas. I'm not talking about Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana. I'm just talking about one particular Veda, or each of those Vedas are divided into four parts. They are called Brahmanas, Samhitas, the third part is called Aranyas, and the fourth part is called Upanishads. Okay? So the first part is all about rituals and mantras. And most of the mantras recited by the Sivacharyas and the Bhattacharyas hails from the Rig Veda. Then the Samhita are proses sang in praise of the various deities. Then the Aranyas are there to teach human or mankind how to pray and meditate. That is why they say if you want to meditate, you must find a quiet place. And where is a quiet place? Not in your house, not anywhere in the city, right? But mostly in the forest. That is why when people want to do tapasya or penance, if you look at all the rishis, they go to a forest. Because only when you're detached from society, you can become attached to God, and that can only happen in a place where the eyes cannot be influenced by what it sees, the ears cannot be influenced by what it hears, and the mouth cannot be influenced by what it speaks. Then only the heart cannot be influenced by all these drishti doshas. So, they always seek a quiet place in solitude to meditate. Meditate means to go within, right? Just like the word Govinda is Goinda. Goinda. Right? God is telling you to go in. So the message here is not to look for God externally. Because no matter where you go, you will not find Him if you cannot place Him in the depth of the annals of your heart. That is why I said, the first place you should place God is the Hridaya Pradishtapanaha. Place Him in your heart. Then place Him in your mind. Then make a connection. Always. Or just have to close your eyes and you can make the connection. Right? So, Aranyakas means to learn how to pray and meditate. It also means, from Valmiki's perspective, to be detached. Rama was moving away and away and away, deeper and deeper into the Dandaka forest. It's a huge forest. It ranged from north right down to south. Right? So when you hear stories, if you go to certain temples, whether in North India or South India, you will hear, this is where, Rama did some prayers for his family, or this is where the Pandavas had come. It's not made up. It is actually very real, right? You just have to do some research and you will find that it is actually very true. So, yesterday I left you at the Chitrakoot forest after Rama sent Bharata away. Bharata went back to Nandigrama, just a city outside Ayodhya. He placed Rama's sandals on the throne and he ruled as caretaker, wearing the same ascetic clothes, eating the same fruits or food that Rama would be eating in the forest. Such is the depth of love that Bharata had for Rama. Then what happens? Now we go back into the Chitrakoot forest. Rama is very uneasy. He is feeling very uncomfortable because he is constantly reminded of Bharata. That's where he met Bharata, they embraced, they spoke, and that's where he did the final rites for his father, Dasharatha, and then Bharata left. So he says to Lakshmana, Lakshmana, I cannot stay here anymore. Lakshmana says, why, Bharata? And then Rama says, I am constantly reminded of Bharata and I am in an emotional turmoil. I have to leave this place and move away, because only then I can move away from Bharata's thoughts and Bharata's emotions that is actually disturbing me. Right? So then the journey starts between Rama, Lakshmana and Sita in the Aranya, in the forest. Hence, it is known as Aranya Kandam. The next 13 years is what we are going to be talking about today. What happened in those 13 years. Now, the Aranya Kandam is important for 6 reasons. For 6 reasons. Firstly, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita's journey into the forest. Remember, they started in the north. Kausalya kingdom is very much up north, right? Then they crossed the river Sarayu, they came down, they crossed Ganga, right? Now they have come to almost the border between north and south, right? By the end of today, they would have come halfway through the south, right? And tomorrow when I speak about Kishkinda Kandam, they would have gone to the south and they end up in Rameshwaram. So the journey is not made up. My dear brothers and sisters, it is actually done by Rama. And Rama and Lakshmana in those days, their size is not what we are today. 5 foot, and the most that one can be is 6 foot something, correct? They were giants. One step is like 1 mile. Huge fellows, right? If they are so huge, then you must imagine Hanuman, who had the full Praptham of Sri Rama, how he can grow, right? One of the 64 astras that he had learnt from Surya is growing in size. He can grow to any size, big, small, almost minute, almost invisible. Invincible, of course. So the size was huge in those days. Therefore, you might be wondering, could they have walked all this way? Yeah, for them it was nothing. Remember, they spent 14 years. right? So in 14 years, today, people are walking from, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, all the way. After 4 months, they are landing up in our shores. So it is not impossible. If they can do that today in 4 months across continents, in Rama's time, this was an easy thing. So the first thing is their journey and what different rishis they come into contact with. Everybody has a role to play. So at different points in time, see, in the Balakanda, he met, of course, his Kulaguru was Vashishta, but he met Vishwamitra, who taught him all the rules of warfare and all the astras and all the mantras and so on and so forth. Then, in the Ayodhya Kanda, he met several other rishis, right? Siddha, Gautama. Now, in this third Aranya Kanda, he is going to meet 3 or 4 other renowned rishis who will each play a role, and after that they will disappear. Okay, so we'll look at that. The second thing is the entry of Shurpanakha. 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 Nakha means nails. Shurpa means hanging like a basket, willow of baskets, So her nails were so long. Right? That is what she is called, Shurpanakha. So how she enters into the scene, meets Rama, meets Lakshmana, and then of course she is sent off by Lakshmana. Then how Rama kills Khara, who is Shurpanakha's brother and Ravana's brother, and Dushna, that's another Rakshasa, Asura. Okay. Then of course the main important thing in the Aranyakandam was the kidnapping of Sita and the events that led to that. Again, I'll be talking to you about the mind and desire, because again, Sita was kidnapped as a result of desire. Then of course, once she's kidnapped and she's being taken away, the fifth lesson is the importance of Jatayu. Jatayu. And then finally, Rama meeting Kabandhu, who actually leads him to Shabari. And then Shabari tells him to go to Kishkinda, to Rishyamukha, to see the monkeys, where the monkeys are all waiting. Sugriva, the sun, Surya, Vali, Lord Indra, Nala, Vishwakarma, Nila, Agnideva, and of course Hanuman, Mahadeva, Shiva. All of them have taken these avatars to wait for Lord Vishnu to go there. Of course, Rama's avatar is Lord Vishnu, but Rama doesn't know it, right? That was the sankalpa that was taken. We all are going to go down, but we must not know our Swayarup. The true essence of our divinity will not be disclosed. But as I said to you, that is not the same for Lord Krishna in the 8th avatar. Krishna was born as God, lived as God, and went as God. Okay, so Rama, Lakshmana and Sita leave Chitrakuta, and they go further and further until they come to Rishi, Atri. You know the Rishi? Atri Muni. They arrive there, and Atri and his wife Anusuya, and she is a great tapasvini. She has renounced all types of wealth, material, personal, emotional, mental, all kinds of wealth she has renounced. So she is known as a great tapasvini. She was very impressed with Sita's devotion to Rama, that she gave her lots of gifts, nice clothes, ornaments to wear, jewelry and stuff. Sita accepted them with a humble hand and humility. She accepted it. Now, you might be wondering, why is Sita accepting this when she knows that she cannot use those things because they are in the forest? And certainly she is not going to wear them because that's not going to be looking good on Rama. So why did she accept it? This is the lesson for us to learn here, right? No matter how wealthy you are, or how, Sita is Mahalakshmi Amsam, right? So she doesn't need someone else to give her wealth. She is wealth herself, right? She is Dhanarupinya. But she accepted it with love because it was given with so much of devotion. So the lesson for us, man, today is, it doesn't matter how rich or how wealthy you are. If someone gives you something with love, accept it. Because that is your dharma. Right? Even though you're not going to use it or you want to give it away, that's a different matter. But you should accept it. Right? It's just like Sugriva, when in Uttarakandam, when Sugriva comes and gives a very beautiful necklace, he says, I want to present this to Sita. Sita says, thank you very much, I accept with humbleness again. And then she says, I want to give it to someone who always serves my Rama. And of course, at the end of the day, it went to Hanuman. And Hanuman was looking at it. And then everybody was surprised. What is Hanuman looking at? He should be wearing the mala. Right? That is why you never see any ornaments on Hanuman. You will see all ornaments on all the gods and goddesses. But on Hanuman, you will not see anything in gold or ornamental. So he was trying to listen to the mala necklace. And then he was breaking each pearl, each, oyster, everything he was breaking, And everybody was surprised. And Sugriva felt insulted and he asked, hey Hanuman, what are you doing? You are insulting my gift to Sita Devi. He says, this is no good. So why is it not good? Because I cannot hear the name of my Ram. How can you say that? Are you saying that you are vibrating with the name of Ram? He says, yes, every single hair of mine, every part of my body vibrates to the name of Ram. You want to see? That's when he opens his heart and he shows. Right? Let's not do that here today. Right? You can do it when you meet Ram in person. But that's the story of the giving of gifts. Right? Secondly, Anusuya herself, a great tapaswini, right, knows that Sita is not going to accept this. She herself doesn't wear it. Anusuya herself does not wear anything, does not wear any silk garments and so on and so forth. Right? So it is a great quality for you to give away something very good, even though you yourself are not going to use it, even though it is very dear, very expensive. This is dhana nidhi. That means when you want to give, you must give something that is either valuable enough to you or higher in value to you. Now, I want you to reflect for a moment. When you give dana, what do you give? You're probably telling your wife, where is that shirt that has got 2 holes, no buttons? Pack that one, I want to give for charity. Where is that trousers that does not have a zip? Pack that one, I'll give for charity. But look what they are teaching us. Give gifts that are of value to you or of higher value to you. That is the lesson there. Right? Now, they stayed for a night in Rishi Atri's ashrama, and then they moved on. As they went deeper, the first Rakshasa came. Dandaka for us, like I said to you yesterday, is the HQ for Asuras. It's Asura HQ, right? All the fellows are there, family is there, Parampara is there, Asura Parampara is there. Right? First one, Virada came. Right? Virada was very, very fierce. And it had power in its hands. No other part was as powerful as its hands, just this part. So what Rama takes his arrow, because you remember, Agastya gave Rama Indra Dhanush. All he has to do is say the mantra and say the part, hand, karam. It will go right to the hand and sever the hands. And that's what he did with Virada. Now Virada was actually a Gandharva, but because of a curse, he became an Asura. I think most of them are Gandharvas, but because they did something wrong, adharma, they engaged in adharmic acts, they were cursed and they became Rakshasas, and then he had to take a Punya Purusha like Rama to come and clear them, like Ahalya. The moment he touched, she became pure. Like that, Gautama Maharishi story. Okay, so as a result of that, Virada regained his Gandharva form, and in gratitude, he shows Rama the way to Rishi Sarabanga's ashram. Sarabanga, another important part in this Aranyakandam. Now, at Rishi Arabanga's ashrama, Rama saw there was a golden chariot there. That is a chariot of Lord Indra. Because Sarabanga has done so much of punyas, Indra said he is now fit to go to Swargaloka. So he sends Mathali, his charioteer. He says, take my chariot, go and bring Rishi Sarabanga and take him to Swargaloka. Here is a point for you to note. The charioteer is coming and Rama is walking with Lakshmana and Sita. Sarabanga is there. What does he choose to do? Go in Indra's chariot to Swargaloka or stay behind and serve Rama? I mean, you don't get a chance to go to Swargaloka just like that, isn't it? Correct? Here he has got a chance. The chariot has come from Indra, from Devendra, from Devaloka to take him to Swargaloka, and he politely refuses. He says, I cannot come now because Rama has come. I have to serve him first. So chariot went off. This is the lesson for you and I today. What does that teach us? When you are given a choice, we always choose something that will benefit us first. What Sarabanga is showing through his own experience is always seek to serve. When you serve his people, you are serving him. Hence the saying, Jana Seva, Janarthana Seva. Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. Like that. So, we should use our intellect and our sense of discrimination, viveka, to always choose the right thing. You see, God gives us the choice. He gives you good, He gives you bad. He says, you choose. Why should I choose? You should tell me you are God. No, I have given you buddhi. Yes, God, but you've also given me manas, mind. The mind is always crooked. Yes, so develop your buddhi to control the mind. Now, unless you do that, you're not going to get anugraha. You'll only get navagraha there. And they'll constantly give you problems. Okay? Then Sarabanga goes one step further. He says, all the punyas that have accumulated until now through my tapas, I want to gift to you, O Rama. I mean, how fantastic is that? We don't even give a credit to someone else. We claim all of it ourselves. Nobody else should be mentioned in this, only me, At work, whenever something good happens, here you have a rishi. All the punyas that he's accumulated through his tapasya, he is now willing to give away to Rama just like that. When a rishi gives up his punya as a result of accumulated tapasya, he goes back to zero. After a full circle, after 100%, he goes back to 0%. He was willing to do that because he could see who Rama was. So, it teaches us the quality of sacrifice. Thyaga, sacrifice. Now, then, he says, Rama, please accept all my punyas from all the tapas. And Rama says, everybody on this earth has to earn their own punyas. So the lesson for us today, that means what? It doesn't matter who your parents were. It does not matter who your grandparents were. It does not matter if your father or uncle is a priest or is a trustee. It doesn't matter. What you do attracts the energy that is attached to the deed that you are engaged in. Yat mano tat manusho. As the mind, so the man, it says. Yeah? Yat bhavam tat bhavati. When you see someone, you know what comes out. The bhava of the person will tell you. So that is the lesson there. Rama says every born human being must earn their own punya. So every action has two consequences. Whatever you do will either attract punya or attract papa. Punyam and pavam, as they say in Tamil. Right? Every single act. Now here is where you must understand something. It's not just a physical act. Every single thought, every single word, and of course every single action attracts either punya or papa. That's why they say think good, speak good, and do good. Because you will only get good punyas then. And if you always get punyas, you don't have to be afraid of Kala Deva or Yamadeva, because they will not come and harass you. Okay? So, we must ask the question, are we, right? Are we prepared to sacrifice for the greater good of man? Because then, when you sacrifice for everybody else, then you yourself will get goodness. Because remember I told you about the boomerang yesterday? What you throw out in your thoughts, what you throw out in your words, and what you throw out in your actions comes back to you and no one else. So think, throw good thoughts, throw good words, and throw good actions. Don't worry if anybody is watching, because the divine within you is watching and they know. That is called the conscience. Right? So how do you develop this? Keeping good quality. Right? Adi Shankara says, show me your friends and I will tell you your character. So if the people you mix with will define your character. Right? You may not be a drunkard or a smoker, but if you mix with them for 3 months, guaranteed you'll be one or both or even worse. Because it's called influence. And of course, if you mix with people of good quality, dharmic perceptions, then you become like them. That is why Shankara says, beautifully he says in Viveka Chudamani, Satsangatvam Nitsangatve, Nitsangatvam Nirmohatve, Nirmohatvam Nischalatatvam Jivan Mukti. What does that mean? Satsangatvam, this is Satsanga. Satsang means coming together of equal-minded people. So this equal-minded people coming together will lead to Nitsangatvam. Attachment will make you realize detachment. So detachment from what? Nitsangatvam, Nirmohatvam. Moha, Nirmoha. Moha Hatvam. That means moha is desires. Remember I told you, Ashta doshas, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Mamada, Matsir, Hamkara. All these are doshas. Mohas. What you see, you want immediately, that is a moha. Greed, lobha. Wanting this, that, everything. Right? Seeking something and desiring to have it even though you don't need it. And this is where Shankara distinguishes between need and want. What you need is not the same as what you want. And what you want, you don't need. What you need, you should not want. When you can distinguish it along that lines, then you are heading in the right way. Okay? So, Rama says, spiritual upliftment cannot come by someone giving you jnana or diksha. You know, you read a lot of this, you know, this Guruji is giving this diksha, this, that. Has to come through your own practice. Unless you yourself practice something, you cannot be a master of it. Hence, Sri Satya Sai says, master your mind and be a mastermind. Master your mind and become a mastermind. How beautiful is that? Okay. Now, then they leave Sarabanga's ashram after Rama blesses him. You see, he did not even think for a minute that he is missing Swargalok. But he was prepared to let that go. But then Rama blessed him by saying, may you attain Swargalok, and immediately he went to Brahmaloka. Finish. So you see, when you give up something for greater good, that greater good will come and take you back to where? That is why they say, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. When you do dharma, that same dharma comes back to protect you. 100%. There's no doubt about it. Okay? Then they continue with their journey and they come to the ashrama of Rishi Sudakshina. Sudakshina. Now, he, like Sarabanga, offers the same thing to Rama. He says, take all my punyas. Oh, Maryada Purushottama. Oh, Dharma Purusha. Please accept this as my humble offering. Again, Rama refuses, and Sudakshina says, I know you have a long way to go, and you have so many rishis to help and save. Please go and do all that and come back to this ashrama. I will be waiting for you. Okay? So, they continued their journey, right? And all this time, although Rama was busy with Lakshmana, fighting the Rakshasas and keeping order in the Aranya, even in the Aranya there must be order, but he never for a moment ignored Sita. Because that was what Vishwamitra told him. Look after Sita. So he always was very nice, spoke very pleasantly, smiled all the time, whatever she wanted, he did. He made everything possible for her, right? Because that is technically the role of the Graha Lakshmi, right? Only if she is happy, everything else will fall into place. Okay, so Sita, in one of the conversations she has with Rama, she asks, can you tell me what are the 3 things that will give you Papa Palan? That means it is adharmic. So Rama says, there are 3 things you cannot talk falsehood. That means lying. Lying is one thing, automatically it will get you to an adharmic state. And you know the story, the Puranic significance behind why there is no temples dedicated to Brahma, right? When I read my lecture here on Brahma, I explain to you why Brahma has no temples dedicated to him, right? That's one reason why, because he lied. Okay? Then he says, first thing is you cannot lie. Second thing is, you cannot lust after another man's wife. You cannot desire someone else's wife. Everybody is like a mother to you except your wife. And then she says, what is the third thing? He says, the third thing is hurting someone who has not done anything wrong to you or has not offended you. So Sita is a bit confused. She says, the first one I know because you are, you never lie at all. You are Satya Purusha, Satyavak, one who only speaks truth. Secondly, you see every woman as your mother Kausalya except me because I'm your wife. So I'm okay with that. But the third thing, you are going around killing all the Rakshasas and you promised all the rishis that you'll get rid of the Rakshasas. But the Rakshasas never harmed you. They are disturbing the rishis. So how come you are doing this? She asks Rama. And this is when Rama explains to Sita, I am a Kshatriya. This is a Kshatriya Dharmani. As a Kshatriya, my job is to protect the rishis. And therefore, this is my Swadharma Paripalana. This is the very reason that I have come into this forest to help all this. Okay? So what is the lesson for us? The lesson for us is, as we grow and evolve in life, we must not forget that the gift of a human birth is for us to use it and manipulate and exploit it in such a way that we don't have another Punarjanmaha, that we are not born again. You're born but once and you die but once. So Rama is saying, do your dharma. And again, Krishna says that to Arjuna, do your dharma, don't worry about the fruits of the action. If the dharma is correct, then you don't have to worry about anything else. Do your dharma. So they continue like this for 10 years in the Dandaka forest, right? And finally, they arrive at Rishi Agastya Muni, one of the great rishis. And Agastya was not born, He came out of a yajna because of the Devas. So something happened there and a little sweat fell into the yajna and out came Agastya. So Agastya was a great rishi. He is the one who then presents Rama with Vishnu Dhanush. So Rama is getting all the weapons. Why do you think all these rishis are giving him weapons? Because they are preparing him for what is to come. Okay? What is to come. So when something happens to us in this life, here and now, don't think it is something bad, because everything bad is preparing you for something good, or preparing you for a battle that you are yet to fight. You know? So, that was Agastya's gift, Vishnu Dhanush, and he said, any time or the time when you most need, Mathali will bring Indra's golden chariot to you. Don't worry when, he will know when to come. And there's a part when I'm talking about Yuddha Kandam. On Saturday, Yuddha Kandam, I'll be telling you at the precise moment when Mathali comes and takes Rama in the Indra chariot and hits Meghananda. Okay? Now, Rama does not need all this, because remember in Balakandam, Vishwamitra took him, and for 5 years he has given him all the astras from A to Z. Right? That's why Rama says you need a guru in order for you to spiritually progress. So he had Vashishta as the Kula Guru, then Vishwamitra, then Agastya. All this prepared him for greater feats in his journey. Right? Then they finally arrive at Panchavati. And that is where they spent most of their time. So Rama tells Lakshmana, go and find a spot that you like and build a nice hut. Lakshmana says, no, you tell me where to build, because I am not the doer, I am just your servant. You show me where and I will build. You see, this is the greatness of Lakshmana, right? So Rama says, okay, build one hut there. So he builds a nice ashrama, and then they live there for some time, very happily, at which point our dear friend Shurpanakha comes. And she sees Rama and she says, what a beautiful man. I want him straight away. No second thoughts. Straight away. See, want. Okay. So she approaches Rama. And Rama says, look, I'm already married. I got my wife here with me. Ask my brother Lakshmana, he's standing there alone. In one of obviously Rama's lighter moments, right? So then Shurpanakha goes to Lakshmana and he says, wow, another beautiful man. Your brother says, I should ask you to be with me from here in forth. He says, get away, you devil. I have no time for you because I am a slave to my brother. I have no time for women. He goes back to Rama. He says, look, I come to you, you say go to him, I go to him, he chases me away. Now if you don't come with me, I'm going to eat your wife. At which point Rama says, Lakshmana, please deal with her. And Lakshmana takes his sword and throws, and it cuts, it mutilates her by cutting her nose and her ears. So she runs to her brother, Khara. Khara is a fierce asura, right? He just has to think and it will materialize. That's how powerful. That's the tapasya punya he's got. So he goes to, he sends his assistant first. He says he sends 14 warriors to go and fight this Rama, beat him and bring his head to me. Of course, Rama just slayed the 14 of them. Then Khara, the asura, goes with 14,000 warriors. 14,000. And you know Indra Dhanush, what it can do. Rama has to say 1 million arrows, and he shoots that one arrow will turn into 1 million arrows. That is the power. One quiver can turn into 1,000,000 quivers if Rama wills it. So 14,000 is nothing. You say 14,001, including Kara. Boom. All gone. Okay. That is Kara. Now, she goes. Again, you see what is starting now is a direct result of something called desire or lust. This is where Shankara explains in Viveka Chudamani, and even Chinmaya in one of his commentaries on Valmiki Ramayana says, he talks about the 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Purusharthas. So he says the first Purusharthas, the 2 Purusharthas must be together, and the second set must be together. So Dharma and Artha must be together, Kama and Moksha must be together. Then Adi Shankara explains, he said, dharma and artha. Dharma means right conduct. Artha means all the material possessions that you have, that you can call as your belonging. All personal property must be gotten in a dharmic way. Dharma, through dharma you get artha. Only then you can go to the second level. Only when you suppress kama, you can get moksha. What is kama? Is lust, is desire. Where does lust and desire come? From an untamed mind. Untamed mind. So tame your mind first, then control your desire. Once you control your desire, then you can walk towards moksha. That is what Krishna told Arjuna, you surrender to me completely and I will give you moksha ischayami. I will give you moksha once you surrender completely. But do we surrender completely? I don't think so, right? That's something you need to think about, how you have to surrender. So of course when Kara gets killed, so powerful the brother, he gets killed. What does Shurpanakha do? She rushes to Lanka and falls at the behest of Ravana and says, look what this Rama has done to me. But she did not say that she wanted Rama and she wanted Lakshmana. What she said was, hey brother, Rama has such a beautiful wife. She is so fitting for you to keep in this palace as your queen. And you should go and get her and come. Because when he gets Sita and comes, she can go and get Rama. See, that is a devious plan that they have. Right? Anyway, when Kara was killed, one of the Asuras who was injured manages to escape. That Asura was called Janasthana. So he actually goes and tells Ravana what happens. And then Surpanakha goes. Right? So the first time when Janasthana goes and tells Ravana, he comes back to his uncle Marichi, who's now become an ascetic because of Rama's connection. And he says, Marichi says, no, don't do this, because Rama will not do anything wrong. He is always doing things in a righteous way. Something must have happened for him to do this. So it's not your job to go and do this. So please go back to Lanka. And you see, when the mind is right, the intelligence will tell the mind, listen, this is good advice. So Ravana actually went back to Lanka and says, okay, forget this Rama fellow for the moment. Then when Surpanakha comes and tells him, and what Mantra did to Kaikeyi, the same thing happens here between Surpanakha and Ravana. Now, you must realize one thing here. I told you, Ravana is a great learned man. There is no other learned man that is more learned than Ravana in the entire Hindu pantheon. 10 heads, Dashamukha. What does the 10 heads represent? 6 Shastras and 4 Vedas. 6 plus 4 is 10. Everything the man has just quenched it like that and drank it. So even when you are vibrating at that level of knowledge and jnana, when you are not careful, you lose your balance and fall to this type of influence, bad influence. That's why your mind must always be kept. That's why, in the Navavida Bhakti, the 9 parts of devotion, they say Namasmarana. Nitya Smaranam, always you must be drenched. Like Meera. You know Meera? Meera Bhai? When she starts singing, she loses herself. And there is a story that says once when she started singing, Krishna actually appeared before her. But her eyes was closed, so Krishna couldn't leave until she sees him. He waited there for 3 hours. She finished her song and then opened her eyes and saw Krishna and said, Bhagavan, why didn't you tell me? He said, you were engrossed in me and I was engrossed in you. So beautiful. And most of the time, we say, God never comes, right? And there's a beautiful bhajan in Hindi, Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Dhamodaram Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. कौन कहता है भगवान आता नहीं, तुम मीरा की जैसे बुलाता नहीं. How can you say God never comes? Are you calling the way Meera calls the Lord? कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, भेर शबरी की जैसे खिलाते नहीं. Oh, fantastic. How can you say that God never accepts the food you give? Are you serving it in the bhakti that Sabari served the Lord? And he goes on, right? How can you say God never sleeps? Right? Are you putting her in your lap like Ma Yashoda? That is love. That's why I say in this Kali Yuga, there's only one way to get you close to God, that is Bhakti Marga. Bhakti. Your Bhakti creates the Shakti between you and the God. The greater your Bhakti, the more powerful the Shakti. The lesser your Bhakti, the lesser the Shakti. It's a direct correlation, right? Okay? So Surpanaka goes and pleads with him and he says, you must go and destroy this man because he has come to kill you. So take his wife because then he will die just like his father. Once he's separated from the son, the father died. When the son is separated from the wife, the son will die. So take him. So now he goes to Maricha. Ravana goes back to Maricha and says, you don't have a choice. Either you do it or I kill you. And Maricha is thinking, might as well I do it and die in the hands of Rama than die at the hands of this Rakshasa. So he says, I'll do it. And then of course, he assumes the form of a... Maricha had a boon. Just by thinking of a form, he can become that form. Okay? So he knows Sita likes deers. He became a golden deer. And as they were walking one day, Sita looks at this deer and tells Rama, I want that deer. So what is the key word here? What is the key word here? Want. Want equals desire. Desire equals weak mind. When desire influences a weak mind, you will get catastrophic results, consequences, repercussions, ramifications. All this will happen. So Rama said, okay, I'll go. He said, Lakshmana, watch her. Okay? Lakshmana, you remember, Lakshmana is Adishesha, a snake. The snake's eye, you cannot see the snake's eye, but the snake's eye can see you. And that's why they say it has a photographic memory, right? You can just capture your picture. Even years and years and years later, it will come and get you because it remembers what you did. So, Lakshmana is saying, Ratha, don't go. He says, too late. He's gone and of course he takes an arrow and he shoots. It hits Marichi and Marichi dies, but before it dies, it calls like as though Rama is calling, Lakshmana, come here. Loud enough for Sita and Lakshmana to hear, but not enough for Rama to hear and respond. So Sita heard it and said, Lakshmana, your brother is calling, go. And Lakshmana says, I can't go because he told me to stay here and look after you, protect you, guard you. No, I want you to go. He said, no, I can't go. He says, you have, bad intentions to me. That is why you don't want to go. Go now, otherwise I'll take my life. So Lakshmana was left with no options but to go. But before he went, what did he do? Yeah, he drew lines, but that lines is called Lakshmana Rekha. Lakshmana Rekha. That means the lines that actually protect through mantric vibrations. That's why the mantras are so powerful. And you should just listen. Even if you don't know how to say it, just by listening you get the punyas. And because, that is why they give tirthas, tirthas after the prayers and all. Because so much of mantras has gone and the tirtham is so powerful. It is so pure that they give us prasadam and you should just take that. And as you drink it, you should say, may this purify all my pancha indriyas. May this purify my jnana indriyas. Right? So, Lakshmana draws the rekha and says, don't leave this. Right? Don't go out. He made it in such a way that no one can come in. But he did not want to lock Sita in there. So he gave her the option of going. See, otherwise she'll be locked in there. And what happens? Ravana is a great mystic. He already seen this. So he comes in the form of a rishi and says, give me alms. So he sits outside the rekha. He sits outside the rekha And then he tries to enter, but he can't enter because, of the mantric protection, the nuclear protection that Lakshmana has given and gone. So he sits there. He says, I can't go in, but I'm sure I can get Sita out. So he calls him. Come here and serve me fruits. I am hungry. He says, Bhagavan, come into the ashrama. I'll save you. He said, no, you have to come here. So in the end, she took the fruits and she came out of the Lakshmana Rekha, at which point he grabbed her and Pushpaka Vimana. We talk about flying, things in the air. This already existed then, right? I mean, the Americans are now trying to get access into the Padmanabha Swami temple in Kerala because there's one part there which cannot be opened, and they are suspecting that it is housing a huge, outer space shuttle. And how can it be? Yes, it is very, 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 very possible, because the mantric vibrations are so powerful. Today we talk about nuclear. Those days itself they were fighting with nuclear, right? The vast annihilation through mantric proportions. So anyway, he takes Sita and he goes, and Jatayu, who was a friend of Dasharatha, son of Aruna. Aruna is the charioteer of the sun, Surya's charioteer. His son is Jatayu, brother of Sampati, friend of Dasharatha. He comes and he tells Ravana, don't you dare take Mother Sita. I will not allow you. He says, oh lame bird, move out of my way. Otherwise I will cut you into two. So Jatayu fights with him and breaks his Pushpaka Vimana. So as it was falling, Ravana holds Sita, and with one hand he takes his sword and cuts off Jatayu's wings. Jatayu falls, and Ravana flies on his own, takes her back to Lanka. Meanwhile, Rama and Lakshmana come back. Lakshmana goes and seeks Rama. Rama is fine. Marichi is dead. He turns into his original form, asks for forgiveness. Rama and Lakshmana come back to the ashrama. Sita is not there. Rama is really aggrieved. He said, let's go look for Sita. As they are going, they see Jatayu dying there. And Jatayu explains everything that has happened. And Rama is so moved by Jatayu's devotion that, in Andhra, there is a place called Lepakshi. Yes? That place is where this incident happened. So he looks at Jatayu. Jatayu was leaving his last breath, attaining moksha. And Rama says, Le Pakshi. That means arise, O bird. Pakshi means bird. And Garuda is a Pakshi. Like that, he's telling Jatayu, Le Pakshi. Arise, O soul of this bird. So it goes up in the air. And then Rama blesses you. You see, everyone Rama comes into contact with, he gives moksha. Very powerful. Every rishi is giving Rama powers to fight Ravana, but here is Rama doing his Swadharma Paripalanaha. That means giving moksha to every person that has helped him in his way. Then Jatayu says, go to there, Rishyamukha, and you will find Shabari. She will tell you what to do next. They go, and Shabari is waiting for him. Shabari is a child tapaswini. That means she has given up everything, and her Kulaguru told her, wait in this place, and your Lord will come and seek you out. And she was waiting, patiently waiting. How patiently do we wait for God? No, we wait only for Central Line, District Line, bus, waiting in airports for flights to take off, waiting in transit lounges, waiting in the cinema for the ticket, for the movie to start. We wait for all of that, but we do not wait for God. Parame Brahmane kopi na saktaha. To that one God that can save you from everything, nobody is attached. That's the irony. She was waiting so patiently, and then Rama comes, she serves him, and then he blesses her. But before she is blessed, she says, you have to go to Rishyamukha. There is a mountain there. There is a kingdom called Kishkinda. That is where you will find all your army of Vanaras. Remember, 2 exclusions from Ravana's boon that he asked Brahma. He said, nobody can kill me. He mentioned A, B, C, D, all the categories except Naraha and Vanaraha. Naraha means human beings, normal human beings, not devas, gandharvas, so on and so forth. And Vanara means monkey. Actually, if you take the Va out of the Vanara, you get Naraha. So man is monkey without tail, actually. So that's why they say, man, you have monkey mind. and one of the philosophy of the theory of evolution is man has come from apes, isn't it? That is one of the theories. But anyway, see, there is some link here. So anyway, Shabari then gets moksha, and then Rama and Lakshmana set off on their way. They cross river Saraswati, river Godavari. You know, on the 13 years, they have touched all the 7 rivers, the Shapta Tirtha. That's why you see the Acharyas, Shivacharyas and Vadacharyas, before they do the puja, the Kalasha, they will always consecrate the Kalasha with the 7 holy rivers, Gangai cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jalayasmin Sannidhim Guru. So the 7 holy rivers were actually touched and prayed by Rama. He has done Sandhya Vandanam there in all these rivers. Cross Godavari, now they are coming to Kishkinda, where they meet Sugriva. Sugriva is actually Surya. And then of course they meet Vali and so on and so forth. So I leave you at that point, where tomorrow at 7:30 we will continue with Kishkinda Kandam, the part where Rama and Lakshmana meet the Vanara Senas, Vanara Padai, right? Where he gets to meet Hanuman for the first time. And even that, the first meeting is, it's fantastic in a sense that what the exchange between, when you can speak so beautifully in a prose that only, great saints like Kambar and Tulsidas can understand, you are called someone like Madhura Bhasha, one who speaks with such beautiful language. That is Hanuman, not Rama. Rama describes Hanuman as a Madhura Bhasha. Okay, so in our usual fashion, we will end with a bhajan. Ayodhyavasi Ram, Ram Ram Dasharatha Nandana Ram. Ayodhyavasi Ram, Ram Ram Dasharatha Nandana Ram. Ayodhyavasi Ram, Ram Ram Dasharatha Nandana Ram. Ram 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 Dasharatha Nandana. Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Sita Mohana Ram, Sita Mohana Ram, Rama 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 Bolo, Rama Rama Ram, Rama 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 Bolo, Rama Rama Ram, Rama 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 Bolo, Rama Rama Ram, Rama. Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Sita Mohana Ram. Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Sita Mohana Ram. Ayodhyavasi Ram, Ram Ram Dasharatha Nandana Ram. Ayodhyavasi Ram, Ram Ram Dasharatha Nandana Ram. Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Patita Pavana Janaki Jeevana, Sita Mohana Ram, Sita Rama 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 Bolo, Rama Rama Ram. Ram Rama 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 Bolo, Rama Rama Ram. पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन राम। स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यां परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषा गो ब्राह्मणेभ्यो स्वमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। हरिः ओम तत्सत्। श्री नारायण अर्पणमस्तु। थैंक यू।